The laughter around the dinner table had just started to die down when she said it. "Why don't you just get intimate with your hand tonight?" The words came out light, playful on the surface, but the tone beneath them was sharp, deliberate. The kind of tone meant to hurt. The table went silent. Our friends stared at their plates, pretending they hadn't heard. Someone coughed. Someone else took a long sip of wine. My wife sat there smiling faintly, twirling her fork like she hadn't just cut me open in front of everyone. I could feel the heat crawl up my neck, the blood rushing to my ears. I tried to laugh it off. "Guess someone's in a mood," I said, forcing a grin. She didn't even look at me. "Maybe I am," she replied. "Maybe someone needs to take a hint." Her words hit harder than I let show. I looked around the table, faces turned away, the air thick with pity and awkwardness. I pushed back my chair, stood up, and said quietly, "Excuse me." No one tried to stop me. Outside, the night was cold and still. I walked down the street without direction, just moving, my mind spinning. Her words kept repeating in my head, each time sharper, meaner. We'd had arguments before, every couple does, but never something like that. Never a public humiliation. By the time I got home, she was already asleep, or pretending to be. I didn't say a word. I sat on the couch in the dark, staring at nothing, wondering how we'd gotten here. The next morning, she acted as if nothing had happened. She hummed while making breakfast, asked if I wanted coffee, kissed my cheek on her way out. The same lips that had told me, in front of everyone, that I wasn't enough. I tried to let it go. Maybe she'd had too much wine. Maybe it was stress, or anger, or something deeper I didn't understand. But that night, when I reached for her, she turned away. "Not tonight," she said softly, pulling the blanket tighter around her. I rolled onto my back, staring at the ceiling, the silence between us stretching like a wall. Days passed. Then weeks. Her affection didn't just fade, it disappeared completely. No warmth, no small touches, no glances that used to say more than words. When I asked what was wrong, she'd smile and say, "You're imagining things." But I wasn't. She started coming home late, always with an excuse ready. Work dinners. Project meetings. "You wouldn't understand," she'd say when I asked what kept her so busy. The first time I smelled cologne that wasn't mine on her coat, I told myself it was nothing. Probably someone at work hugged her goodbye. I told myself that again when she started sleeping with her phone under her pillow. And again when she began dressing up for those meetings, wearing the same perfume she hadn't worn in years, the one she used to save for our anniversaries. I knew the signs, but I didn't want to see them. I wanted to believe that we were just going through a rough patch. That if I stayed patient, she'd come back to me. But patience doesn't fix betrayal. One evening, I decided to surprise her. I drove to the restaurant she said she was having dinner at with her boss. I parked outside, feeling stupidly nervous, like a teenager about to ask someone to dance. Through the window, I saw her right away, laughing, her hand resting on a man's arm. Not her boss. Someone younger, with an easy grin and the kind of confidence I hadn't seen in years. My stomach dropped. I waited, frozen, as she leaned closer to him, whispering something that made him laugh. Her face glowed under the soft light. She looked happy, happier than I'd seen her in months. I left before they could see me. The drive home felt endless. My hands shook on the steering wheel. I kept telling myself there had to be some explanation, that maybe it wasn't what it looked like. But deep down, I already knew. When she came home later that night, I was sitting on the couch again, waiting. "How was dinner?" I asked. She hesitated, just for a second, before answering. "Good. Productive." "Who was he?" Her head snapped up. "What?" "The guy you were with." Her eyes widened, then narrowed. "You followed me." "I drove by," I said. "Didn't have to follow. You made it easy." She crossed her arms, her voice sharp. "So now you're spying on me." "Call it curiosity," I said quietly. "You used to look at me the way you looked at him." That stopped her. For a moment, I saw something flicker in her expression. Guilt, maybe. But it vanished quickly. "I don't owe you an explanation," she said coldly. You've been distant for months. I felt alone. I stared at her. So you decided to humiliate me instead. She looked away. You wouldn't understand. That broke something in me. All the anger, the confusion, the disbelief, they crashed together until there was only one thing left, emptiness. I understand perfectly, I said. I stood up, walked past her, and into the bedroom. When I came back out, I had a small stack of papers in my hand. Her face went pale when she saw them. What is that? Divorce papers, I said. My voice was calm, steady. You can sign them tomorrow. Tom, wait. No, I said. You made your choice when you told me to use my hand. I just didn't realize you meant because someone else already had yours. Her eyes filled with tears, but I didn't care. I walked to the door, turned the handle, and looked back one last time. You wanted distance, I said. Now you have it. I left the house without slamming the door. The night was quiet again, colder than before. I stood in the driveway for a moment, looking up at the dark windows that used to mean home. Then I got in my car and drove. No destination. Just the open road, the hum of the engine, and the sound of my heart trying to make sense of what it had lost. Somewhere between the silence and the headlights, I realized the cruelest part wasn't her betrayal. It was that I still loved her, even after she'd broken me in front of everyone. Even after she'd laughed while I bled. Love doesn't die with betrayal. It fades, slowly, painfully, like a bruise that never fully heals. And as the night stretched on, I understood that sometimes, the worst kind of betrayal isn't what someone does to you. It's what they make you do to yourself just to survive it.